I am Joel.
And I'm Andrene.
And you are listening to Rewind Rewatch, a 90s movie podcast. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 102 of the Rewind Rewatch podcast, where my sibling and I rewatch 90s movies. We discuss our thoughts on rewatching the movie, what it was like to rewatch it, what we thought the theme of the film was, and at the end of this and every episode, we give the movie a rewind rating from 1 to 5 based on our likelihood to rewatch the movie again in the future. And this is a special episode this week because we actually got a guest from the film who gave us an interview that will be featured towards the end of this episode. So we are very excited about that.
Yes, very excited. This movie is a PG movie from 1992 with a 1 hour and 30-minute runtime. It was requested by Thwip Stickers out of Georgia.
Shout out to Thwip Stickers.
Rubik's Cube out of Texas.
Shout out to Rubik's Cube.
And Sarah out of Maryland. Special shout out to Sarah. And why is that, Joel?
Because Sarah was able to connect us with our guest, Joel Swetow from The Three Ninjas.
Yes.
I don't think either of us actually said the title of the movie yet. So.
Oh, we did it?
So thank you to all three of you for requesting this film, which I was very excited to choose this week because this is a movie that I watched a lot as a child, as I imagine a lot of 6- and 7-year-old boys did as well.
And girls.
And yeah, I'm sure girls did too. This movie came out in 1992. So it is 34 years old, which is crazy. I was watching Moneyball the other day randomly, just because I had just never seen it. And I was like, I need to actually watch this movie. And I'm sitting down to watch it. And then as I'm watching the movie, I realized this movie's 15 years old. It came out in 2011.
Yeah,
and I was like, how is this 15 years ago?
Stuff like that always messes with my brain. So for this film, there was multiple sequels to it.
Yes.
They had Three Ninjas Kick Back in 94.
I do remember Three Ninjas Kick Back because I remember us having that VHS.
Yeah.
I don't really remember the movie, but I remember the cover.
Same.
I don't think we watched it that often.
No. It wasn't as good as the first one.
No.
Then they had Knuckle Up was in 95. And then Three Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain in 98.
Featuring Hulk Hogan.
I didn't even know that.
Hulk Hogan is in the fourth one.
I didn't even know that.
It looks really bad. And now the only reason I know this is because after I watched Three Ninjas for the pod, which was on Amazon, I believe, I was looking, they show recommended movies, other movies like this title. And I saw all these other random sequels. So I'm looking at them and I'm like, oh, let me just watch the trailer and see what this movie is. What is it? High Noon Mountain, whatever. And there's Hulk Hogan's there and some scary looking woman that looks like she's from VR Troopers or something.
Oh.
And I'm like, did they turn this into a sci-fi movie? They seem to be at some sort of carnival, one of those amusement parks. But there's I don't know. There's big guys. There's fighting each other. But then there's kids doing karate. It looks like a hot mess.
Want a piece of me? Come and get it.
No, thank you. Well, this was directed by John Turteltaub, who we have covered previously on the podcast.
Have we?
Yes, because he also directed Cool Runnings.
Oh, another old favorite of ours.
Yeah.
Another old VHS favorite.
He also did While You Were Sleeping, as well as a number of the National Treasure films. So kind of a big deal.
Yes, that is a big deal. All right, so as we start every episode, let's start with a one-sentence summary. What is this movie about?
Why do I forget this every week? Like, I don't know what it is about.
I don't know why you forget this.
You know what it
movie.
is? Like, I spend so much time, like, trying to come up with, like, the themes. And, you know, if I'm looking up facts, like, I spend most of my energy into, like, researching the film itself that I forget that, like, I have to do this small part every week.
This is an unwritten rule. I don't think we've ever actually, like, discussed this explicitly. But I feel like at this point, it has become a norm that neither of us actually prepare the one-sentence summary. But the whole idea of a one-sentence summary is that it should be something that is easy to summarize, that you don't need to prepare. It's like an elevator pitch. Like, you watch this movie, someone asks you, what's this movie about? Like, how would you describe it to them before the elevator door opens?
I would say 3 young brothers learn ninja technique from their grandfather and help him to fight adult ninjas. Like, that's what I would say.
All right. I mean, that's your one-sentence summary. That's all you had to say.
Yeah, they like these little kids.
If that's it.
These little kids do ninja moves and help their grandfather.
They do ninja moves. This is an interesting kids movie, and I was trying to like teleport myself back to 1992 when this movie came out. I turned 6 in 1992. I don't know exactly when I saw this movie, but it was obviously sometime during elementary school, before I was 10 for sure. And I guess I was trying to think about, like, what other types of movies were happening at this time and where did they see this movie kind of fitting in. And I think we talked earlier on the pod when we did one of the TV pilots that we covered was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which was also a show that I absolutely loved as a kid. And again, you have Mighty Morphin Power Rangers were teenagers, but still you have these cool kids who are like doing karate moves, kicking butt, beating up the bad guys, doing jump kicks and punches and all that type of stuff. And I feel like especially in the 90s you had like the 80s as well, but like you had like the Rambo movies and you had Seagal and you had Schwarzenegger and you had all those types of like kick-ass fighting movies.
Yeah.
And so it made sense to make a movie like this where it's like, what happens if you make a karate movie for kids and the ones doing the karate are other kids? Van Damme is the other one that I was thinking of.
Oh, God. Van Damme. Well, when I'm watching this, I'm thinking about Home Alone off rips.
Oh, well, when the kidnapping
yes.
is definitely, that's right up the Home Alone alley.
That's Home Alone.
And I believe that also came out, what was that, 1990 maybe?
90, yeah, yeah. So when I was just like doing some light research into like the actors that were in this film, I happened upon an article that said that this was pretty much like a Home Alone mixed with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which came out in the 80s. And I
there was a lot of
pizza and like cool.
There was a lot of pizza references.
Sibling turtles doing like, nunchuck type stuff. I'm like, oh, this makes perfect sense. That's what this film is.
That is the appeal. I mean, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were also very cool.
Yeah.
They also have that same similar title of like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's like you have all these descriptive adjectives to describe the show you're about to watch.
So you know exactly what's going to happen.
They are mutant. They're also ninjas and they're turtles.
Yes.
There's nothing else you need to know. You know exactly what you've signed up for before you even turn on the show. So these kids were not turtles, nor were they teenagers because they all seem to go to the same school. So I'm guessing the youngest is probably in like first grade and the oldest maybe in like fifth or sixth.
Yeah.
And these 3 kids have an Asian grandfather that they spend time with.
Every summer.
And the grandfather is a karate master who's teaching the boys the ways of karate. And teaching them the ways of the ninja, rather, more specifically. Not just karate, but the ways of the ninja. And their dad is an FBI agent who wants nothing to do with all this ninja nonsense. He's over it. And not only that, but we get the sense that Dad is also so consumed with work that he's not really very present. Mm-hmm. So that's a part of like what's bubbling in the background is like these kids don't see enough of Dad, and also Dad doesn't understand the fact that we want to be ninjas. And then there's like this whole other subplot that involves both the dad and the kids, which actually I guess is the main plot of this bad guy, Snyder, who we find out used to be partners with Grandpa, but split ways with him because he wanted to do evil and Grandpa wanted to do good. Mm-hmm. And this all comes to a head because Dad has to stop this bad guy who's apparently like selling missiles to foreign nations.
I mean, yeah. I'm watching this and I'm thinking about the film we just covered, True Lies. Is what I'm thinking about. But a kid version of that. He's selling these missiles to like, and his ninjas all have guns. Like, why did they like semi-automatic weapons?
That could have been the name of the movie too.
Which is like, I don't know why ninjas have guns.
Yeah. So they are setting the stage very, very quickly. From the opening scene, we are seeing this guy trying to sell weapons to a man that he believes to be Arab.
Joel,
who is dressed in the headdress of an Arabian man. But it's a sting operation, and it turns out he's actually the feds. But when they go to arrest Snyder and all his goons, they are able to evade them all by using their ninja skills to just beat up all of the feds who are holding guns to them. But again, the ninjas also, I don't really understand exactly how he gets away. The ninjas basically evade all the feds, and then when they get Snyder cornered and there's two feds about to arrest him, he just punches them out and jumps on a helicopter and gets the hell out of there.
The way he escaped from this helicopter was giving me like Batman bad guy vibes. Like I could see the Joker.
Joker, Penguin.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yes. It was very much like a cartoon comic book type of escape. He's laughing as like, they're shooting at him from the helicopter. He jumps up on top of a ladder and just flies away. I was like, wow, this is a lot. But
so apparently Snyder's an international war criminal on top of being a bad hombre. And Dad is completely pissed because despite the fact that they were able to confiscate all of the weapons and arrest some of the ninjas, Dad says, "We got nothing! Nothing! I want Snyder! He's everything!"
Yes.
So he is all hopped up on the Snyder. He wants nothing more than to arrest Snyder.
Let me get to the fun part.
Then we get to the fun part. So before we even get into the three ninjas themselves, what is your recollection of this movie, like even before you press play?
So I had no recollection of Dad being an FBI agent. Like that whole part, had no idea of that. I remember the kids training with Grandpa and like the hi-ya, and like them just learning how to kick different things and to use nunchucks and to sword fight. That was the magic of this movie, was watching these three little boys fight. I remember all of their names. As far as the names that Grandpa gave them, their real names, right. No. I don't remember their real names.
I had to write down their real names because nobody calls them by their real names except for like their mother,
their father,
and their father. Only for the first half of the movie, because by the end they are also calling them by their ninja names.
Yeah, so it was Samuel becomes Rocky, Jeffrey becomes Colt, but Tum Tum, we never really know Tum Tum's name.
His name is Michael.
Oh, okay. I never even caught that. I was listening and I was like, I don't even remember.
Then Grandpa says it once in like the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Well, there you have it. So I remember them fighting with Grandpa, but I didn't really recall like why they got kidnapped. I remember the three like surfer dudes like wanting to eat za because they were hilarious. But yeah, the adult part of the plot was lost on me.
Well, this happens a lot when I watch kids' movies again as an adult, I feel like the parts that are not kid-centered and feature little action are parts that I kind of just glossed over. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm not really paying attention to this because I'm 8. So, like, whatever is happening here is really just establishing that this guy is bad. But, like, I don't think it clocked to me that, like, this guy was trying to sell missiles to a foreign nation. It was just like, oh, he's doing something and the cops want to arrest him.
Right.
All right, he's a bad guy, whatever. Mm-hmm. The plots for the kidnapping, again, completely over my head. And also, doesn't really make a lot of sense.
No.
Because basically the whole premise here is that dad is a big FBI agent who is like hot on Snyder's tail, and he has been trailing him for who knows how long. This is like his big case. He's so consumed with it that he's barely ever home, and his kids don't see him. And he's like, I got to get this guy off my back. I know what I'll do. If we are able to kidnap his kids, we'll hold them ransom and basically tell him, you can no longer try to arrest me, otherwise you're not going to get your kids back. And then he'll just leave me alone. Because obviously, if you want the feds off your case, you kidnap their children. And that will not get you into any further trouble with the feds.
But not only that, it was who they chose to kidnap these children that really didn't make any sense.
Well, Brown assured him that they were reliable, that they have done jobs in the past. Mm-hmm. And we also get a sense that this is Brown's nephew and his 2 bonehead friends.
Yes.
One of which only says dude the entire movie.
Hey, man, this kidnapping is so much better than armed robbery. Dude. Yeah, I never got a pizza on a robbery. Dude. I know, and it's good za, too. Hey, you know, we should save some of this for the kids we're napping. Dude.
There were a lot of dudes going on with these guys.
Yeah, I don't think he had any lines other than dude, which was actually kind of funny to me because you have these 3 guys. The other 2 are like communicating, and the third one only says dude. And to me, it was almost like, how long can they keep this gag up?
Yeah.
And they kept it up for the entire movie. I was really impressed by it. But yeah, we get the sense that these guys do commit felonies. You know, they are somewhat seasoned criminals, nowhere on the level of Snyder, who tells us with a very smug and self-satisfying grin that he loves being a bad guy. But the other 3 knuckleheads, we see them in the very first scene holding up a convenience store.
Marcus, score some nacho chips and some radical salsa. Dude, none of that green stuff. Dude. And you, my good man? Open up the cash register. That's right, dude. Us 3 boneheads are sticking you up. Dude! Now open up that register before I have to get nasty.
That was a really funny scene.
It's so funny.
I loved it.
Excuse me, my good man. This is totally like a stick-up. I gotta say, the Surfer Bros are the best. They are my favorite part of this movie. I feel like, obviously, this movie is all about the ninja stuff. But I also, as this is no surprise to anybody who's listened to this podcast, I loved and still love Home Alone. And so I do think that that kidnapping scene is fun because it is 3 kids getting it over on these stupid adults, but also the stupid adults are very entertaining.
Oh, they were so much fun. Like, first of all, when they first get to the house, the boys are home with a babysitter, and this babysitter shows up ready for bed, basically.
She still has her rollers in her hair.
She's ready to go to sleep. Rollers are in her hair. She comes to the door, and when they knock on the door, they tell her, like, basically open the door. Like, oh yeah, we're some kids from the neighborhood. If you don't open the door, we're gonna TP the house. And she opens the door. I don't know.
Oh
why.
no! They say it's pizza delivery.
But he also says something about TPing the house.
Yeah. He said if you don't open the door, we'll TP the house.
Which is like, why? Okay, so they open the door, and when she opens it,
it worked. She opened the door, so
they have a cheese pizza, and they just smush it in her face.
That's pepperoni.
They just smushed it in her face and pushed her into the closet. I was cackling. It was hilarious. And then the leader, I think it's the nephew, says, "First we feast, then we felony."
Nah, he was amazing, man.
He was
so funny.
Funny. It was so
My
funny.
apologies, my good man. He said, "Men, it's time for some excellent breaking and entering."
And the first time we see them, they're holding up this magazine, and we're led to believe they're looking at some kind of like dirty magazine because
the magazine is called Surfer Chicks.
Yeah, and you see like a center fold, and they open it up and they have the magazine held, vertically, and so we're led to believe, they're looking at some nudes of some hot, surfer beach babe, and they're like, oh wow, and then when the camera pans around, it's just a surfboard that they're looking at, which is clearly an adult joke. The kids would not get that. And I'm like, oh, that's actually really funny. But yeah, they come into the house, and this is where the Home Alone sets in for me because the kids are in the room. They realize that someone's there, and they're like, yo, like, we can call the cops. Rocky has this, like, tin can telephone set up with the neighbor Emily where they can talk. And they're like, yo, just call.
Very curious to understand the technology of
I don't know how
this
that
works. Without a string in between the two cans. I'm not sure how he's talking to her from across the street. Maybe they do have just a string all the way across to her house. Who knows?
Maybe. But they're like, yo, let's just call Emily. She can call the cops and we're safe. And it's like, but wait a minute. Dad hates that we do ninja stuff with Grandpa. Let's prove to Dad the ninja stuff is actually helping out. We can just beat these bad guys up and like save the day. So again, it's like they could have called the cops and they chose not to. Kevin McAllister. And this is where they decide they're going to attack these bad guys. And I mean, these guys are boneheads, so it works. But it's like, they actually had guns. Like, this could have gone really wrong. But the boys are like, yeah let's just...
He literally, Colt stops Rocky. He's like, wait, don't call the cops. Mm-hmm. We can just beat up these grown adults who have broken into our home with handguns. Let's handle it ourselves. Dad will be really happy about that.
And they do.
And he's like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea, man.
There's a lot of, like, Home Alone nods. Like, they have pouring the oil on the floor so the bad guys slip. You have Tum Tum sprinkling jelly beans on the floor. They use CDs to hit them in the face, kind of similar to, like, the paint can scenario in Home Alone. It was very much giving the whole, like, if you're a kid, you can defend your home with toys and just, fun things. There was some ninja action thrown in. There were a lot of, like, hi-yas and tossing them around the living room.
There were a lot of hi-yas. This movie was chock full of hi-yas.
Because you got to say, I feel like you can't properly do ninja moves without the hi-ya. That's what they taught us.
All right, let's talk about these three ninjas. Did you have a favorite three ninja?
Well, did
you have a favorite three ninja?
As a young girl, my favorite was Rocky because he was the oldest, closer to me in age. He was cute. It's like he knew how to fight, but he also had the restraint. Again, like I'm risk adverse, always have been, and so it's like the fact that he only used his ninja skills as Grandpa taught them. He only used it when like he needed to do it. Like Grandpa said, you only fight when you know you can win. And also, like, ninjas are supposed to have restraint. Colt didn't have restraint. Colt was very much the hothead. I wasn't really into that. But Rocky was the oldest. He listened to Grandpa. He was skilled. And also, Rocky was the one who was able to figure out how to get them out of that cell on the ship. Like, he used his smarts. So I was like, yeah, I like that. And he was cute. What's there not to love?
I mean, I don't know. I guess, well, actually, I do know.
Who did you like?
I was a Colt guy.
Oh, middle child. Makes sense.
I was always a Colt guy. Maybe it had something to do with being a middle child. I mean, Tum Tum was just there for the LOLs.
Yeah.
15 minutes into the movie, I already started to feel bad for the kid because I'm like, man, they have this kid with food in his mouth for every single scene.
Oh, my God.
I'm sure he's tired of shooting take after take and having to chew on these Twizzlers, man. This kid is probably going through it. But they wanted to make it very clear to the viewing audience that this kid loves candy and he is sleeping with a huge bag of jelly beans in his bunk bed, and he's eating the Twizzlers, and he's eating the Goobers and every other candy that you could think of. That was basically his whole character. A small little cute kid with a front tooth missing, who's eating candy the entire time.
Well, it's like that 90s trope, right? There's always like that one kid who was like the chubby one or the one who loved food. So like his thing was like, oh, he loves candy, so let's call him Tum Tum. Like that was, we get it.
And Cole was a little bit of he could fly off the handle a little bit. He was ready to scrap. But I guess Rocky rubbed me the wrong way, especially when I was rewatching this movie. I'm like, man, this guy kind of sucks because he was so cocky, man. And I'll tell you the scene that bothered me the most.
I already know.
You already know. What am I going to say?
The basketball?
The basketball. Oh, my God. I'm like, what is this guy doing? First of all, this girl that you have a crush on gets her bike stolen by this group of bullies. And he's like, don't worry, I'll get your bike back. He's very confident in himself with his backwards baseball cap. He's so cool. So then they try to bully him during recess. And they're like, hey, we'll play you 2-on-2 basketball. And if we win, then we're going to take your bike as well. And he says, okay, let's play a game of 10. Let's play a game to 10, and I will spot you 9 points.
No, that was wild. That was wild.
What are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
And the girl that you're trying to impress is not impressed at all. She's actually fed up because she's like, why are you always trying to be a show-off? He's like, Emily, listen, I got this.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, you could have just played a regular game to 10. They didn't say, like, you have to spot, like, you suggested to spot them 9 points just to be a jerk.
It's true.
So I was like, this guy's doing too much. I wasn't feeling the cut of his jib.
I mean, they would have won though had they not cheated at the end and like pushed Colt down. They definitely.
But they also would have won if they just played a game to 10.
Yes,
because they scored 9 straight points. Like they tied the game, and then Colt got a hard foul. He didn't call it, which is a really bad idea. You should have got to call the foul, baby. You got to call the foul. He doesn't call the foul. They just grab the ball, throw it in, game over.
Yeah.
And she's like, thanks for nothing. Now you lost both of our bikes. Here's your stupid hat back.
Yeah, she was fed up.
So I feel like if you put yourself in Emily's shoes, I don't know if you'd be such a fan of Rocky.
Fair enough. Like, again, watching it back now, I was like, yeah, he did a lot. I'm just thinking like young Andrene, I just know I was definitely a Rocky fan. That's what I'm telling you. But looking back at it now, I'm like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have done all of that. But also, he was trying to flex. And...
Well, not to mention, how did she get her bike stolen in the first place?
Because he was flexing. They went into this like, unrestricted area.
It has a huge sign that says, keep out. He's like, hey, Emily, watch this. Oh, come on, man.
And then he goes in and he's doing all these crazy... Yeah, I mean... Again, he's trying to show off.
She has shown at no instance that she is waiting for you to impress her. She just wants to hang out with you, man.
She already likes you. She called him cute. She called him cute. Y'all are talking at night through these little cans across the street. Like, she's basically your girlfriend at this point. Y'all ride to school every day together.
Emily. Rocky loves Emily.
That, I will never forget that. Like, I remember that quote, and I remembered, like, the za. Like, those are the two things that I remember going into this film. Because...
Pretty good za.
We used to always say those two things. Yeah, I mean...
Everybody used to always say that. Rocky
did you catch?
I don't know about the za part, but...
We said the za at our house.
Yeah.
We love a good debrief. But the bully, the black kid, he has on this shirt, and the shirt just says awesome. I loved it.
That's good. It's an awesome shirt.
Yeah, it is an awesome shirt.
Did you clock that kid? Because we've seen him on a previous episode as well.
Yeah. He always plays that kind of just random kid who's...
No, I'm saying, do you remember the other movie we've seen him in for this show?
I'm not sure. You got to remind me.
He was... the one who played Doughboy in Boys in the Hood when they did the flashback of them as little kids.
Oh.
So he was the Ice Cube character.
Wow. Yeah, I did not clock that.
I was like, this kid looks familiar. And then I looked it up and I was like, yes, I knew it.
Interesting.
So they've got this whole thing going on. And then they get accosted by these two bad guys. The one part that I always remembered, a lot of the gags I forgot. I forgot about throwing the CDs, like throwing darts, and them tripping over jelly beans, which I'm not sure exactly how that would happen. There's also a scene with a remodeled room where they go in the dark and Colt psychs them out and trips them over themselves.
Yeah.
The only part that I really remembered, though, was the laxative in the soda.
Yes.
I had a very clear memory of the laxative in the soda. And I don't know why I remember that more than every other gag.
Because I haven't seen it in any other movie.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
The fact that you have these bad guys, because again, it's like, and also I feel like that is plausible. Like if you give somebody a laxative, there's nothing they can do. You have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is actually could happen in real life. And watching it back though, like one of the guys, he's on the toilet as Colt opens the door. And Colt's like, oh, it stinks in here. Like, yes, obviously. And then the guy gets directly off of the toilet to go to attack Colt, and I'm like, bro, you didn't even wipe. I was so disgusted.
How can he wipe?
I was so disgusted though.
He's about to get attacked. He doesn't have time to wipe.
It was so disgusting to me. Like just in the back of my brain, I'm like, bro, like there's like, come on, bro.
Your attacker comes in. He sees you there, pants down. What are you gonna? You're gonna say, please, sir, give me a second. I haven't wiped yet.
I have to wipe.
There's no time.
I have to wipe. And then when Colt goes to punch him, he goes, please, dude, not the stomach. And they oblige, and they hit him in the face instead.
Which he appreciated.
He did.
Which he appreciated. I love also when they open up the closet and they see the babysitter, and she's just laying in the closet, just shaking and shivering in fear with pizza slices all over her face.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff.
It was good. It was good. But I mean, watching it back though, I didn't recall like how dangerous this actually was, because I do remember like these guys were kind of like dimwits. But like I said, they had guns. And at one point they had like multiple guns pointed at Emily's head, because they find the can in Rocky's room and they basically pretend to be a little boy, which is actually pretty funny. He's like, come over, Emily. I gotta show you something.
You gotta come over here right now.
So Emily comes over and they hold her up and they have 3 guns pointed to this little girl's head. I was like, oh my God, this is, and the kids like are just kind of like, all right, I guess, all right, you got us. And I'm like, they don't look frightened at all. They don't look terrified. They're just kind of like, oh, they have 3 guns pointed to our friend's head.
But I think that's the beauty of the movie, because obviously it is a kid's movie, and the guns, I think, are a threat, but most so just to show that these guys are bad, without any real like fear that one of these kids is going to get shot. And I think as you're watching the movie as a kid, the tone is set in a way where like, if you use different music,
yes,
or if you use different lighting, or if the characters reacted in a different way, the movie could be incredibly dark. I mean, this could turn into Fear with Mark Wahlberg. But the fact that they aren't really that worried, and the music is silly, and the bad guys are silly, and yeah, they pull out these guns, but then immediately 2 of them leaves because they have to go to the toilet. It's like the stakes never get so high where you're watching this as an 8-year-old and thinking, oh my God, Colt is about to get shot.
That's true. The only time that we actually see someone get shot is at the end when Snyder ends up getting shot by their father.
And there's no blood.
There's no blood, exactly. And it's kind of just like, he gets shot in the arm. He's not dead. It's very much just like a shot to make sure that he cannot hurt Grandpa or the boys. That was the whole point of that. And I saw something that said that Disney ended up adding these sound effects to the fight sequences because A, they wanted to downplay the violence, like you said, to make sure that it stayed a kid's movie. And B, they wanted to make sure that they secured a PG rating. So that's why they did like all these funny little like boom sounds and like, you know, and like.
I like the music that plays in the background during all the fight scenes. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Dum, 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 dum.
It's like 90s dance music. And then you have Tum Tum winding up his arm every time he's getting ready to punch.
Why I oughta. Why I oughta.
So a lot of that like was just like very fun and amusing to like keep it light, like you said.
Because at the beginning of the movie, we see them training with their grandpa, and it's like, okay, these guys are pretty good athletes, actually.
Yeah.
And the grandpa is doing his jumping off of a car and climbing up of trees and doing multiple backflips. Like, oh man, this old man is really in great shape.
But not just that. I thought Grandpa was Chris Angel because when they go to attack Grandpa with the whole car situation, they have him cornered, and next thing you know, he like throws something down, smoke appears.
Smoke bomb, yeah.
And then now he's like in a tree. I'm like, oh, he's a magician. That's not
He's
ninja.
a cat.
That's a magician. That's different.
I mean, there's also the part at the end when they're on the ship where he jumps over the balcony and then just lands on his feet.
Not just that. There's a part where he jumps onto the rope to climb up onto the ship. And I was like,
oh yeah.
That blew my mind.
He's a ninja, man.
I said, there's no way that old man is doing that. But Grandpa's nice.
Nah, he's a real ninja.
And also, Grandpa trained Snyder. So we know Grandpa is better than Snyder.
Nah, he's the OG. The only difference is that Snyder is younger. And so Snyder's trying to check him at the beginning of the movie when Snyder shows up to Grandpa's house in his limousine. And all of his ninjas come bounding out the limousine and flipping over the car to accost this old man. And his 3 young grandchildren are able to evade and beat up these grown men.
Mm-hmm. Easily.
I'm like, oh, these kids are actually very talented.
Nice.
I also get the sense that Snyder's not doing a great job training his ninjas. Because they are repeatedly throughout the film just getting absolutely thrashed by 3 elementary school students. Not to mention, most of his ninjas carry around machine guns.
That's why they need it.
It's
suck.
obvious that they're spending very little time in actual ninja training.
Yeah, but also the boys, like their entire life, at least for the summer, is ninja training because we even see a scene where they're preparing food with Grandpa, and even the cooking is ninja. Like they're flipping over the
table.
Yeah, they're setting the table. They're throwing the plates like they're stars. They're flipping the food around in the pan to add onto the plates. Like everything they do is this ninja lifestyle.
Ninja life, baby.
Yeah. And even like when they're getting ready to eat the food, it's like Grandpa is going over these like tenets, you know, of being a ninja that he says to them. He says, a ninja is one. Well, he's quizzing them, and they say like, a ninja is one who can use everything around him to trick his enemies. He is fast and friendly to his environment. And that comes into play later on after the kids are eventually captured, and they're in this locked room where they basically figure out they can't get out. The door is locked. They have a guard outside. How do we escape this? And Rocky's like, yo, like, watch this. And he uses the phone. And I'm not even sure how Rocky knew what number to call to get to, but whatever. He calls this
Ninja
number.
Skills, baby.
Yeah, he calls this number that gets to like the guy who's like, I guess the phone operator for the ninjas on the ship. And he's like, hey, I'm in the kids' room doing a phone check. Do a phone check. And he hangs the phone up. The ninja calls back to do a phone check. When he answers the phone, he goes, oh yeah, the guy's outside. Let me tell him. So the guy who's supposed to be watching them puts his head through the window, and Rocky's like, oh, the phone is for you. And so the ninja is an idiot. He opens the door to get the phone, and then Rocky hi-yas him and knocks him out.
Also, a trained ninja who is guarding 3 children should be able to answer the phone without getting destroyed. But again, they are better ninjas than Snyder's men.
Because they know the tenets. That's the thing. They don't know the tenets. And so it's speaking
of Snyder, who is he just plays the best kind of sniveling bad guy. He's just he like I said, he loves being a bad guy. He's smiling throughout the film. He wears his hair in a ponytail, which is never a good sign in a 90s movie. I don't think I don't think there's ever been a character in a 90s film who wears a ponytail who is trustworthy. That's always a bad sign.
Yeah, I don't know.
When you think of like Crisp from
Kindergarten Cop.
He wore his hair in a ponytail.
You're right,
as well.
he did.
Now, if it's Steven Seagal, you can trust his ponytail. But anyone else, bad news. Bad news. He's got these two sidekicks.
Oh, man.
He's got Mr. Brown and this big Japanese guy. I forget what his name was. They did say it at some point.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. But yeah, that guy is like monstrous. Like the problem with him is that he's so brolic and he's so big that when the kids try to hi-ya him, it doesn't work. Because like
I love how hi-ya is now a verb.
It's a verb.
Okay.
It didn't work because it's like he's too big. But then it's kind of a nice callback because earlier on in the film, when Grandpa is training the boys, he has this light up dummy that he uses to train. And basically he's telling them, if you have, someone that you're fighting who is much larger than you and the regular tricks basically won't work, you have to remember that there are certain areas that you have to kick. But he made sure to tell them it has to be very specific because if you're even an inch off in one direction, it's not going to work. And so he's telling them, like, under the armpit, obviously the groin area, under the neck, there's certain parts, if you hit them, you'll light up the dummy. And I remember watching this and being like, this would be a fun way to train. Like, if you're training how to do your kicks and you're waiting for the light to light up, I feel like that would be encouraging as a child to want to practice, to get that thing to light up. It would be fun.
Of course. It was fun to watch.
It would be fun.
Because you're picturing yourself as one of the three ninjas as you're watching the movie. You're like, oh, this would be cool to like kick this big dummy and see its eyes light up and turn red and this dinging noise happens. It's like instant validation.
Absolutely. And that's how they're able to eventually defeat him later on.
Tanaka was his name.
I'm sorry?
So what about Brown? What was your read on the Mr. Brown character?
So as I'm watching it, the first thing that came to my mind is, although we never covered it on the pod because it's like an 80s movie, but we used to watch All Dogs Go to Heaven a bunch when we were kids. And
I had the same thought. I had the exact same thought.
There's an assistant to Carface.
Yep.
And his name is Killer. And it's this dog. He wears glasses. He has the long ears. And he's like always like this, sniveling little thing who's an assistant to Carface. He does whatever Carface wants. And he's always trying to like please him desperately. And I kind of got that idea. There's a scene where Snyder has Mr. Brown in the office and Snyder is, I guess, like helping him like box or kick or something. And he's on his knees. Mr. Brown's on his knees. And Snyder's like, yeah, I got to get these kids. And he's like, oh yeah, I got my nephew and his friends. They've done jobs for us in the past. Like they'll be able to get the kids. And he's just trying to think of any way he possibly can to please Snyder. And I'm thinking like, oh, we've seen this kind of character before in kids' movies, like the person that's just trying to appease their boss. And they're obviously not as smart as their boss, but they want to do whatever they can to make sure the boss doesn't hurt them.
Douglas doesn't dare touch me if I've got his kids.
You should have grabbed him when you were up at the cabin. Oh!
But I guess you knew that already. Snatch those kids without getting caught, or I'm going to crush your head until a slimy ooze comes out of your eyeballs.
No problem, boss. I'll get right over there.
Brown reminded me of Killer from All Dogs Go to Heaven. He also reminded me of Mr. Smee from Peter Pan, who was
Hook's
kind
guy?
of, tag-along assistant to Captain Hook. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing about this prototype is, well, number one, they all wear glasses.
They have to.
But you also get the sense that they are nerdy, yes, but also probably smarter than their actual boss, who basically just rules through fear. And so they're complicit because they're scared of what happens if they don't do what the boss says. But you get the sense with Brown and with Smee and with Killer that, like, you know, the villain would probably actually be more successful if they were in charge because they're probably smarter. Yeah, I don't know that I loved Snyder's plan of kidnapping these kids because his whole thing was like, we have to do this deal in the next 48 hours. So if we kidnap the kids, we'll keep him off of our tail in order for me to sell these missiles, and then we can, I guess, give the kids back after that. And I don't really know.
Yeah, but also, I mean, like, going back to your point about, I guess, Mr. Brown being smarter is like, the first night the teens are supposed to snatch the boys up. They can't do it because their father is an FBI agent, and there's like all of his coworkers happen to be like at the house. So they call in and they're like, yeah, we wanted to snatch him, but like it's swarming with feds. We can't do anything. And they call Mr. Brown to tell him, and Mr. Brown relays that to Snyder, and he's like, I don't care. Get those kids now. And it's like, but there's feds there. Like, what do you want them to do? It didn't make any sense. Anyway. It didn't make any sense. It's like, bro, like, he's actually trying to make sure they could do it in a safe way, and he didn't care at all.
Nah, he's got to sell these missiles, baby.
Oh, okay. Good luck with that.
He's got to sell the missiles. And Dad just won't leave him alone. Sam, whatever his name was. Sam Douglas, that was his name.
But also, I don't know why Dad wouldn't want his sons to learn how to defend themselves. Especially when Grandpa is telling you to be careful and not just to fly off the handle and use these skills. Like, he's very intentional about training them, not only like how to make sure that you don't get hurt, but also how to make sure that you're not just needlessly fighting random people. You know what I mean? Like, he had no interest in even learning like what the kids were learning and why. He was just against it, and that was it.
Yes. So another note about Grandpa, his name in this movie was Tanaka. The big guy, his real name is Tanaka. His character's name was Rushmore, which is pretty funny. I don't know. I feel like Dad was anti-ninja maybe because of Snyder. Like, Snyder is this ninja bad guy who has this horde of ninja bad guys. And Grandpa is also his wife's dad, not his dad. So he's like, This guy's an idiot. And I don't want him getting my kids involved with this nonsense. So I think he was looking at it like, this is a waste of time. And they're getting all hopped up on this stuff when, like, they should be focused on something else. I don't know. That was the only like reasoning that I could think of, but I do feel like it had something to do with Snyder, why he didn't want them involved with ninja.
I mean, I suppose that makes sense. But I just feel like, you know, again, this is your wife's dad. Like, you wouldn't even give him it wasn't even like, okay, they did this in the past and something happened. You know, like the last time they did this, you know, Tum Tum broke his arm. You know what I mean? Like, give me something that gives me a reason. But I felt like he was just so anti. And also, Grandpa wasn't nice, bro. Like has he seen Grandpa fight?
I love how after the kids get kidnapped and all the cops are at the house trying to figure out what to do next, Grandpa just shows up in the shadows in full ninja garb.
I loved it.
Like, how did he get here?
Right.
Did he run? Did he walk? He doesn't even live in this neighborhood. Where did he come from?
He got past all the police tape probably because three kids from a Fed got snatched. I'm sure the whole, you know, street had been roped off, and he just ends up walking right up to the house like, yeah, I'm out here.
And also gets to the ship before the feds.
Well, no, remember, because the dad said, Grandpa said, if you show up, if Snyder sees y'all, he'll hurt the kids. So let me go. And the dad says, okay.
Yeah, how did you feel about that?
I didn't think it was realistic because I think Dad would have been like, yeah, this whole movie I've been saying, like, get you out of here. This is nonsense. Like, I'm bringing in all the feds I can find to get my... Because also, how is Grandpa, one man, going to fight all of these ninjas?
Because he's the best ninja.
But Dad doesn't think so. So why would he just all of a sudden now? It's like, it kind of reminds me of like Armageddon, where it's like the whole time they didn't believe in AJ's character. it's like, oh, AJ's trash. But when it came down to the wire, he's like, all right, AJ,
He's like, let's give it to AJ. Let's let AJ save the world. Exactly. I haven't trusted him at any other point.
Exactly. That's what it felt like to me.
Let him save the world.
Yeah.
Oh, man. By the end of the film, it all comes down to Grandpa and Snyder having this one-on-one fight.
Yeah.
And Grandpa looks like he's about to take the L because Snyder...
He cheated.
Throws a smoke bomb in his face, some sort of smoke and pepper concoction that gets in his eyes and he can't see. And Snyder's like, ha ha, I always win. Until Grandpa takes the jelly beans that Tum Tum slipped him and stuffs them in Snyder's mouth until he chokes. And this is how he wins the fight. Grandpa's like, all right, you have to let my grandkids leave now. And he's like, no, I refuse to lose, and grabs a gun.
Yeah.
And he's getting ready to use it. And this is when the feds shoot him in the arm, arrest him and all of his thugs, and everyone is happy ever after, and they go to get pizza, where Dad basically blows off his assistant who wants to collect evidence, and he's like, no, sorry, I have to take my kids to go get pizza.
I feel like that was like his partner.
It was his partner.
It was not even his assistant, his partner.
That's true.
His partner was like,
I did not mean assistant. It was definitely his partner.
He was like, yo,
played by Clifton Powell.
Yeah.
Who I did not remember being in this movie.
At all. He's like, yeah, we gotta get this evidence. And he's just like, yeah, no, I gotta take some people out for pizza or something. And it's like, bro, like, you actually have to do your job. You can't just not collect the evidence.
I mean, my kids just beat up the ninjas. Grandpa beat up the ninjas. We have to reward them. What's the only way that you can reward your kids? It's 1992.
Pizza?
You're getting them pizza.
Okay. I guess that's it.
But the movie doesn't end there. The movie ends with another scene where Rocky finally has to get the better of the bullies. And one thing I noticed that I don't think I noticed before is that they are wearing the exact same clothes that they are in the previous scene with the basketball game. So it's clear that this is probably something that they changed in post.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming that this was probably all supposed to be the same day. And at some point in the editing process, they decided to tag it at the end of the movie instead. And Colt basically, Rocky sees that basically these bullies have everyone's bike at this point. The only one who still has their bike is Tum Tum. So they've stolen Rocky and Colt's bikes. They've stolen Emily's bike. And they're just parading around this beautiful cul-de-sac neighborhood, just showing off how much of a bullies they are. And this is the point where Rocky's finally had enough. And, he has to finally show the ways of the ninja.
But before he does so, he checks in with Emily.
He's like, can I show off?
And she's like, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, this is the thing, bro. Like, you can't show off for girls unless they want you to show off. Otherwise, you're just making yourself look crazy.
But by the end, she co-signed and was like, yeah.
Yeah, she want her bike back.
Yeah, she's like, all right, do what you got to do.
She's like, I already know you can fight because I saw you beat out the bad guys who had a gun to my head.
Exactly.
So now it's time.
Now it's Hayat time. He got the bikes back, baby.
Got the bikes back. And then we had this wonderful 90s rap song with the end credits. Power to the kids.
Power. Power to kids. Power. Yeah. Kid power.
Yeah, it was fun. It was nice.
Wonderful. All right, so what was the theme of this movie?
So I think a good lesson that they had for children, and I feel like it kind of worked for kids who were like doing karate or learning any type of self-defense skill. Like Grandpa was very big on making sure that they were disciplined in their actions. And so I think like teaching kids about restraint is really good, particularly when you have like, little boys in general who tend to fight over every little thing. It was kind of just like, bro, you really only should be fighting when it's necessary, when you need to do it, And also, they said, like, when you feel like you can win. So instead of like Rocky or Colt trying to fly off the handle and trying to fight all the time just because he can, it was like, no, like, if you're going to do it because it's something that you have to do and not because you're just like, let me show off my karate skills and chop this person up. So I like that idea of like teaching kids how to have restraint in the skills that you do have, which I think is supposed to be like the karate way. Like, I'm pretty sure people who learn karate are taught to only use it in certain circumstances. Like,
Yeah.
you know, Snyder's clearly the bad guy who's using it for evil. Whereas I think one of the, I guess, main tenets of learning any kind of karate or ninja style is supposed to be using it as a form of self-defense or defense of others as opposed to just flexing. I thought that was cool for like kids to learn to like have some self-control. Because a lot of kids don't.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely that. I think there was a big family theme here, and that was kind of the theme that I pulled out of it, was like family being there for each other. When the kids get in trouble, the first person to show up to the ship is Grandpa. He comes to help and save them. When, you know, Grandpa gets in trouble, they come and to save him. And then at the end, when they have guns pulled on them, Dad shows up. And so there was this sense of like the brothers all being there for each other, the grandpa being there for the brothers, the dad and the mom, and everybody just kind of defending each other. But then I think also to your point about like self-control and knowing how to use your skills, there was also a sense of like believing in your skills. Obviously, these are kids who, this is not a realistic situation, but I think watching it as a kid, you kind of feel like more confident in yourself watching these kids do this stuff. And I think there's like this sense of self-confidence, believing in your skills, believing in your training more specifically. Like they were doing all this stuff with Grandpa kind of just for fun, with no understanding for when it would come to use. But they were able to use it against the kidnappers, against the ninjas, against the bullies. And it's like, yes, using restraint and knowing when you have to use those skills, but also trusting in yourself to actually be able to prove what you've learned.
Absolutely. I think one more like small thing that I picked up on was it's like, it's a good lesson to kind of think about how you can really use anything around you to trick or to subdue your enemies. And it kind of reminded me of like, so like my husband, like his pops was in the military and like he very much like taught his kids to like how anything can be a weapon. And I definitely think about that.
This is what he taught his kids?
I mean, if things come out, like my husband's really good about like being outside. Like if something were to go wrong, like
He's really good at making things into weapons.
We have a go bag. We have like if something were to go left, it's like, what can you do? What can you use? And so like we'll be watching a horror movie and something will happen and he'll be like, babe, what would you do in this situation? And I'll be like, oh, I would use this. And he's like, yeah, that'd be a good weapon. Like it's just like a good way for your brain to think
Family
about.
bonding. There it is.
Well, not just that. It's like also like being a woman. Like we're like people get kidnapped all the time. It's like, if this were you, what would you do? How would you fight back against someone? I think it's a good skill for people to learn and to start thinking about. And so I was watching this film and it's like, again, with the whole phone situation, it's like they really had nothing at their disposal, but then they had that phone and Rocky was able to, clearly the bad guy was dumb, but able to use that as a way to get out of the room. So I think that's kind of something good to think about too. Like, how can you use your brain and what's around you as a possible way of escape?
Use the laxative. That's
exactly.
That was my takeaway.
They also had like their own little like powder, like pepper bomb that they created.
Well, Tum Tum made them in the kitchen.
That's what I'm saying.
Smart kid.
So, you never know what you can use.
If there's nothing else that we know about Tum Tum, we know that he loves food and he knows his way around the kitchen.
There you have it. Were there any quotes that you wanted to point out that we didn't yet mention?
I mean, like I said, I love the nephew surfer dude. He was my favorite character. He was just so funny. All of his little surfer dude-isms. And there's this one part where they're looking for the kids in the room and they're all hiding from him. And he's like, "Where are you, little dudes? We don't want to hurt you. We just want to kidnap you.
I wrote that down too.
Very funny. Very funny.
Yeah, that was
the
fantastic.
surfer dude was amazing, man. Like, he's my favorite part of this movie. And once he came on the screen, I was like, oh yeah, now let's go. Like,
were
now
ready.
The movie's finally started now, baby.
What I noticed about them was every time they had the surfer dudes on the camera, they had like this rock like guitar playing like like riffing in the background. And then whenever they had the bad guys, they had like this hip hop music playing for the kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, hip hop dance music was playing.
Hiya, hiya, hiya.
You got a high eye on, baby.
Got a hiya.
All right.
So as I said at the beginning of the episode, we were able to get a special guest, Joel Swetow, who plays Mr. Brown in Three Ninjas, to come on the pod and do a little interview with us. So here is our chat with Joel Swetow. All right, we are so excited to have Joel Swetow here from the Three Ninjas, who played Mr. Brown in Three Ninjas, on the pod. Welcome so much. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
We spoke previously about having you on the podcast and talking a little bit about Three Ninjas, and you flagged for us that you had not seen this movie in a long time, and you were so gracious as to actually rewatch it on before we came on. So we're going to ask you some questions about that. But first and foremost, I would love to know, just like, if you remember, how did you get involved with this movie?
Yeah, I do remember. But I would love to ask you guys a question first as well. So I understand how this, movie came to your attention to include it on the podcast. So presumably you guys rewatched it, right?
Yes,
Correct.
we did.
And had you watched it back in the day?
Oh, all the time. All the time. This was a family favorite in our household.
Andrene, calm down. Jesus, all the time. And what did it mean to you back then?
It was just fun seeing kids being able to beat up all these adults, the ninja moves, the sibling of it all. Because we also have a younger brother. So it's three of us. It's three of them. And they're beating up these bad guys. It's like family. It's fun. It was just a great time.
And what was your experience rewatching it? How did it hold up or not?
Oh, it was so nostalgic. It was so nostalgic. A lot of the lines came back to me, like, Rocky loves Emily. Like, I mean, I had so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
So much fun.
Let's murder.
Well, cool. Good. That's good to know. I surprisingly, kind of amazingly to me, I had a little bit of the same experience rewatching it.
Oh,
yeah, right.
Well, it was kind of a kick. It had obviously been a long, long time. I was amazed at how much I did not remember. And I thought, I was stunned that it seemed like it held up, I mean, it's of a particular genre and everything. So there are, tropes that it includes and everything like that. But I was surprised that it still played, and I was really surprised at how good the fights were. I really thought that the fights held up quite beautifully. But to your question, I do remember how I got involved. As happens, I had an agent. And the agent submitted me for this project as somebody for them to consider. And they agreed to see me. And so I went in and auditioned. And the director, John Turteltaub, who had not done that much up until that point, I think he had 2 prior credits. So it was a big deal to him, this project. And for some reason or other, we just started riffing with each other. And, there was some kind of goofball connection that we had where we could, joke and make each other laugh. And that's not necessarily common in the audition room for a director to be open to that kind of interaction.
It's a good sign, though.
Yeah, it was a good sign. And the fact that I think I was able to play with him, I think was something that he sort of clocked and appreciated. So, I did the audition and I did the callback, and as always, acting, to my shock and amazement, they cast me,
It's funny because I was watching the film earlier this week, and the Brown character, who is the main villain's kind of sidekick, right? This guy Snyder, and the Brown character kind of reminded me of certain characters that I've seen in a lot of cartoon films, like the Mr. Smee character from Peter Pan came to mind. And I was curious, like, what was your approach? Like, what was your understanding, if you even recall? Like, who is this character supposed to represent, and how did you know to approach it that way? Like, what was kind of behind your approach to Brown?
What I initially approached it with, what I came into the auditions with, what I booked the part with, was completely different from who the character ended up being. Yeah.
Wow.
I had done an HBO movie previously, one of the first projects I did when I got out to Los Angeles, with Jeff Goldblum, a project called Framed. And I played the sort of goofy, dumb henchman in that. And it had gone very well. And so I kind of brought that guy in to the audition. I had success with a dumb sidekick character. I brought that into the audition. That's what they cast me for. And at a certain point, I think we had gotten together maybe to have a couple of rehearsals or something like that. And John Turteltaub, the director, at a certain point, he said, "Yeah, I don't think you need to do that." And I was shocked and a little thrown off. And so I wasn't sure where to go. And he said, "Yeah, I think you can just be you." And that didn't sit well with me because I didn't really think that just being me was going to be right. And so I just tried, a couple of other things. And I thought, if I'm being, a not very bright, goofy sidekick, that was an option to try, going, rather than, dumb, going kind of nerdy with it. Okay. And so I sort of brought my best Woody Allen to it, I think. And that's what it ended up being.
Oh, that's interesting. When you think about being on this set and filming this movie, like, what was your experience like? Like, I know you mentioned how you were talking with Turteltaub about how you kind of didn't want to do the role exactly in the way that he was telling you to do it.
Right.
Was there anything else that happened on set that you recall as remarkable?
Once we started shooting, and I was doing this guy, he completely just let me run with it. So one of the things I was reminded of looking back at the movie the other night was how much I improvised, and he let me do that. Many of the moments, many of the lines were mine, were not in the script. And so I felt a kind of freedom on the set. because he was very supportive of that. He's a very smart guy, a very funny guy who went on to, have, based on the success of this and the one film he did right after this as a result of getting this movie, he had a major directing career, directing all of the National Treasure movies for Disney, directing one of Sandra Bullock's first big successes with While You Were Sleeping. But so he was very smart, very funny, and, in a way, and it's always good when you can say this as an actor, I was kind of the least of his worries. On the set, he had a lot of there were a lot of moving parts,
Right.
That he had to be, concerned with, not least of which is you're working with 3 kids, which requires a very specific kind of skill set that he had. So I felt quite, free to play. I think he was under some pressure because it was kind of a little bit of a big break for him. And there were a lot of producers on the set. I think the whole idea for this movie originated in Korea. And it originated with a group of people and a director who had had some success in Korea working in martial arts movies. And so I think this was their idea and their project. And that director was on set a lot of the time. And so I think that while he didn't necessarily show that, I think that John probably felt that presence and a little bit of that pressure that he needed to negotiate around, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. I kind of wanted to piggyback off of a couple things you said there. The first of which is, do you find that it's rare to have a director be lenient in that way to allow you to ad-lib certain things?
I think it's probably more the exception than the rule. It depends a little bit on who wrote the script, how prominent they are to the extent that they can say, no, I want you to say these words. So, and I've certainly worked in many projects where that was the case, and they wanted you to do it as written, and they had a track record, and were very good at what they did, and so they had every right to do that. So you kind of have to feel it out a little bit. You kind of have to test the waters, and see how it flies, and glean from that. Okay, I need to do it this way, or I have some freedom.
Okay, it's kind of like a kid being with their parent. Like, how far can I go?
That's right.
Before mommy and daddy get upset.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I recently did a play, and I kept pushing the envelope and being more and more outrageous. Kept waiting for the director to say, "Yeah, no, that's too much," and he never did.
Oh wow!
So
Joke's on you.
It was like I just kept going for it, and it ended up being right. But I was surprised that I got to go as far as I did.
Well, Andrene mentioned earlier about how popular this movie was in our household, and I feel like kids of our generation who grew up in the 90s, like, pretty much have all seen this movie. Like, she talked about Rocky Loves Emily and Let's Murderlize 'em and all those little catchphrases that just became a little bit a part of, like, '90s kid lore. I guess I'm curious to know what your idea of the movie was going in. I mean, I know you mentioned that this was a director that didn't have a lot of credit to his name. He had been given a lot of access to be able to make this film.
And we didn't have IMDb back in the day, so one didn't even necessarily know what the director had been up to or what his experience had been, you know?
Yeah. So I guess, like, how big did you think, like, what did you think this movie was going to be? And then after it came out, like, how did that live up to what you expected?
Yeah, it's a great question, Joel. I didn't know what this movie was going to be. I mean, it was a big deal for me in that, you know, I had spent many years acting in New York doing, you know, mostly theater.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came to film and TV quite late, you know, compared to many actors who end up doing any film and TV. And that was the other thing about, my interaction with John is it's very different to be doing stuff on stage than to be doing stuff with a camera in your face. You have to do so much less on camera.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to do less. And that was a challenge for me. And that was something that he and every director I've ever worked with for film and TV have had to stay on me about. So that was part of the process. But I got out to LA from New York, and had some initial success. And then for a variety of reasons, my agent leaving the business, things like that, I went into a bit of a downturn. And so I was seriously considering getting out of the business, or at least getting out of acting, when this movie happened. So the combination of this and getting involved with a particular theater company out here sort of kept me in the business. So I was very excited to embark on this movie, but they did not have a distribution deal. They were making this movie and hoping that somebody would buy it and distribute it. So it was a real chance that everybody involved with this movie was taking. And, we all had hopes, but it was not a sure bet at all. So, we made the movie and we tried to make the best movie that we could make. And I think a huge amount of the reason that the movie ended up being as good as it was because of the director. I was really amazed in rewatching it how good the kids were, how much specificity there was in the moments. But we finished the movie and then they had to shop it. And so when Disney said, yeah, we're gonna do this, that was amazing and unexpected. And then, the movie opened and I knew kind of what the budget had been. And so you would look at Variety every week and see how it was doing. And, it didn't make hundreds of millions of dollars, but relative to the $2 million investment, the fact that it grossed something like $30 million was a pretty good return on investment.
Incredible. Yeah.
So it ended up, I think, being bigger than any of us expected. It gave John Turteltaub a career. And, for every 10 and 12-year-old that I knew, it was a big deal.
including in our household.
There you go.
So you mentioned how John Turteltaub really didn't have you as a main concern because you mentioned there were children that had to be dealt with.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you, what was your experience working with 3 children on a set versus working in an all-adult set?
It didn't really affect me that much because I just, I did my job. I did what I was supposed to do, and I left all of that other stuff, to John. He knew when he was getting what he wanted, when he wasn't getting what he wanted, how to make it better. Those kids seemed really relaxed when I rewatched the movie, and I was pretty surprised looking back at their credits that none of them really went on to do a ton of other stuff.
Yeah, even the movie had like 2 or 3 sequels, and it looked like only the Colt was the only one that was in all of them.
Right, and only the first one made any money.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
But so either they or their parents just decided, that was great. This isn't for us. But they were all as good as any kids I've watched in movies. I thought that they were all really cute, and I know for a fact that young girls were very swept up
I'm sure.
by them. I know, I can't say too much about this, but I know from personal experience that there were girls who practically kind of stalked them.
Oh, Lord.
Because they were so, they developed such crushes on the boys because the boys, they were good, they were cute, they were great looking, all of that.
That was the era. That was the 90s with the boy bands and the JTTs and the Leo DiCaprios and all that.
Right, exactly.
Well, I looked them up, and apparently, so the actor who played Rocky, Michael Triner, he actually is heavily involved in martial arts. And apparently they said that after that, he had no interest in being in the showbiz. And he as of 2022, from what I could see, he's still very much involved in martial arts. That's his passion. Yeah.
Wow.
That's interesting.
That's really fascinating because I thought they were, really good at that stuff. And a lot of that has to do with the fight choreographer and, camera tricks and all that. But I thought they were surprisingly really good at the martial arts.
The little one.
Yeah. I was like, how'd they find these guys?
I believe the little one took a job as a high school football coach. And then the middle one, Max Elliott Slade, the little one was played by Chad Power. The middle one, Colt, was played by Max Elliott Slade. He went on to be in Apollo 13 and Frost Nixon.
Right.
But then since then, apparently, as of 2022, he's been teaching yoga. So, I guess they decided.
Interesting that that's also sort of body physical related.
Yeah.
So 2 out of the 3,
That's right.
Well, I mean, coaching football, it's still activity. It's still kind of sport, So, yeah.
As a part of our podcast, obviously we cover 90s movies. And with that comes all of the baggage of the 90s, good and bad. The 90s tropes and some of the things that we see more in 90s movies that we don't so much see today. And as someone who's been in the business and having rewatched this movie recently, I'd be curious to know, what do you notice any differences as an actual player in films as 90s movies compare to more modern projects?
I do think that in the 90s, I mean, it was always the case, but I think it became even more in the 90s that movies got bigger. That in order to make more and more money, the tiny little personal films that people were making got pushed to the sidelines a little bit, and were not considered mainstream. And if you wanted to make those movies or see those movies, they were probably going to end up in, back in the day, what was called an art house cinema rather than a big, multiplex. So I do feel like there is a difference in that regard. I think it's there are fewer small personal movies getting made, and I think COVID also had a big impact on that. I mean, there are to get people out of their house into the movie theaters, in large numbers, seems to require certain kinds of films now. That has pushed certain other kinds of films further to the side.
Mm.
Well, I know that you said that you rewatched the movie for the first time in a long time, and I'm curious to know what that experience was like. Like, did you have was there a part that jumped out to you, or a specific memory that was recalled, or what was even your favorite scene rewatching this movie?
It actually made me wonder if I had ever watched the full movie back in the day, because the whole opening section with the father as the FBI agent, right, and the sting that happens with what's the name of the bad guy, the character?
Snyder,
yeah. I all of that was like, wow, I had no recollection. I thought it was quite good. And sort of going back to your previous question, Andrene, tonally, it almost went a little more adult.
Yeah, I think
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of chancy, and the fact that they were able to pull back from that, once you went back to the kids, I thought was really kind of well done. I think the fights really stood out to me. The fights and how good the kids were really, stood out to me. I didn't think the script was especially corny. I thought it kind of just worked for that kind of movie. So I was really impressed, I think, by the kids and by the script. And I was pleased to see some of the moments that I thought that I kind of created, being reminded of those and having them be kind of funny, sometimes you look back at stuff, probably more oftentimes than not, and big famous actors will say this, all the time, that they never watch their own stuff. They hate watching their own stuff. They make it and that's it. And, because it's cringy watching your own stuff, because, you think, oh, I could have done this, or why did I do that? You're very self-critical. So anytime you watch your own stuff and you think, hey, that's not bad, that's like a big success. That's a big win.
Well, now maybe I should encourage you to go back and watch some more of your old stuff.
Seriously. You might be surprised pleasantly.
Yeah, that's very possible,
So on this podcast, what we normally do at the end of the pod is Joel and I will give the movie a rewind rating. And the rating is typically between 1 meaning the movie is terrible, never ever want to watch it again, and 5, meaning that if it's on, I'm going to watch it. And so we were interested to see if you were to give Three Ninjas your own rewind rating, what would it be and why?
Oh, man. I mean, if one were going to get really, nitpicky about it, one would have to say, well, wait a second, who are we rating it for? What are the what are the criteria? For me, rewatching it, for, let's say, the target audience, assuming that that's, kids, I would rate it pretty high. I would probably give it a 4.5 or something like that. I mean, I thought maybe some of the fight sequences went on too long, and became a little redundant. I mean, part of the thing about those kind of fight sequences is, for all movies and all fight choreographers is, how can I make this new? Yeah. What can I do differently? How can I keep it interesting from one scene to the next and keep, ramping it up so that people are like, never feeling comfortable watching it, always kind of dazzled by it. And that's a real challenge, especially, these days where, you've seen everything and it's like, what do I do to make this different? That would have been a little less challenging, I think, back then. So that's really the only thing that I can think of offhand that I could, criticize it for. What about you guys?
Well, to your point about the fight sequences, I think that Tum Tum made it so much more enjoyable. Because every time he would fight one of the ninjas, he would like wind his arm up before he punched. And it was so funny but cute at the same time that I just loved watching any scene that he was in. It was fantastic.
Right. He was pretty athletic too, like more athletic than I would expect from like a 7-year-old kid. Like he was like doing back kicks and all this other stuff. It was interesting.
And he brought so much. I mean, no matter how bad things had gotten, no matter what the stakes were, he brought so much joy to what the character was doing that I think that was really kind of both important and contagious.
Yeah, they definitely gave kids like me and my sister a very memorable film that we are still talking about over 30 years later. You were a big part of getting that movie together, and your role as Mr. Brown. And so I'm really happy to have you come on to the pod and kind of talk about that with us. We certainly nerd out over 90s movies, so this has been a true pleasure.
I mean, I was happy to talk about it. I wasn't sure I was going to get to rewatch it before we talked about it. And I'm just really glad that I did and that you guys gave me the opportunity and the impetus to do that. I think it's, a piece of work that and a project that I can feel good about having been involved with. So I thank you guys for that.
Oh, we thank you.
All right.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. All right. Thank you again so much to Joel for coming on the podcast and meeting with us. And he, as you heard, gave a very favorable rewind rating. So now is the time for us to give our rewind rating for Three Ninjas based on a scale from 1 to 5, how likely we would be to rewatch this movie again in the future.
Well, this is your film, so do you want to go first?
No, ladies first.
Oh, okay.
You go first.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. As we've seen a lot on this pod, oftentimes we'll watch something that we watched a lot as kids, and it doesn't age well. You have things that like you're cringing about, or you're just like, I don't remember any of this and it was wild. But I'll tell you what, like I was laughing so much watching this back. Like there were so many things like, yes, nostalgia was high because we watched this so much as kids. But even the stuff that I didn't really remember as far as the details, like I was just laughing, like Tum Tum, punching people in the face routinely, sitting on top of people's chests and hitting them was making me laugh. Him winding up his arm before he punched people was making me laugh.
All while eating candy, fruit by the foot hanging out of his mouth.
The Twizzlers, the gummy jelly beans, all that stuff was interesting. But the surfer dudes, like everything that they said was just making me laugh. Them like getting into fender bender, like all their lines were hilarious. The kids were just super talented, like just watching how well they can fight. And like I mentioned, during the interview, like seeing that, at least the Rocky character, like that actor has a background in martial arts. It was very obvious when you see like how well these kids were able to complete these different ninja skills. It was just fun. Like it was really fun. I laughed. I kept chuckling. Even the stuff that's like wildly, unrealistic, like Snyder flying off the top of the building and the kids beating up the adults. It's like it still fits with the genre because it's a kids PG ninja movie. Like what more do you want? When you think about Home Alone mixed with the Ninja Turtles, that's what this movie is. I really enjoyed it. Like I was smiling the entire time. It's a really great snapshot of the 90s. Would I watch this again? I would watch it again. Like, yes, I'm an adult, so like I probably wouldn't be throwing this on a regular basis. But I mean, if it was on TV and I happened to see it, would I stop and watch a scene or two? Yeah, I probably would. So I'm giving this a 4.
All right.
I had a really good time.
Pretty high score for the Three Ninjas.
I had a really good time.
I mean, I generally agree. I think, we talked about this during episode 100 where we were listening to when we answered all of the listener questions. And one of the listeners, I can't remember who, had a question about like the difference between movies that you have seen versus the ones that you haven't. Mm-hmm. And I do think that this is a movie that has a very high nostalgia factor for me. A movie that I watched a lot as like a very young boy. And having these 3 boys learning how to be ninjas and beating up the bad guys and also having fun with their siblings, and you see them like goofing around, and they have the bunk bed and they have the Super Nintendo system in their bedroom.
Oh, yeah.
And like it's like they were cool and they played basketball, you know what I'm saying? Like they were cool, but they were also disciplined, but they were also good at fighting, but they were also connected to their family. And so like I think a lot of those themes are really positive themes that still shine through watching it now. And again, like I just have to say, the Surfer Bros, just fantastic. Like some of my favorite bad guys, honestly, especially if I think back to like other kids' movies, they're pretty high up there for me in terms of just entertainment and replay value. So I am also going to give this a 4.
Tie scores. All right, y'all. Well, you've heard our rewind rating. You also got to hear Joel Swetow's rewind rating. So we got 4 and 4.5. All right. If you all have a movie that you would like for us to rewind, rewatch, and review, send us an email to rewindrewatch1990s. Hit us up on our social media at RR90spod. You also can leave us a voicemail at 202-688-5195. And if you want to support the show and get access to bonus episodes as well as our exclusive chat, join us on our Patreon for $5 a month. All right.
Wonderful.
Do you have any final words for Three Ninjas?
We should run. We should hide. We should kick their butts.
All right, y'all. We will see you next week with one of my picks.
Oh, God.
All right, y'all. Later.
Adios.